I'd like to welcome everybody to the 21st Annual State of the Community. I'm Jeff Statiker from Edward Jones, one of 7 offices and growing here in the Bay Area region. And I'd also like to give a special thank you and welcome to Dana Muscat, our Bay City Manager, and Jim Barsha, our Bay County Executive. To start the meeting, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. To minimize technical difficulties, Jim and Dana's presentation have been pre-recorded. A live Q&A facilitated by Madison Jarman from Consumers Energy will take place after both presentations. Please use the Q&A icon to submit your questions on the screen. I'd like to start off by recognizing our sponsors. First of all, our legacy sponsors. Those will show up on the screen. First State Bank, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, DoubleTree by Hilton, Bay City Riverfront, Independent Bank, McLaren Bay Region, Michigan Sugar Company, Three Rivers Corporation, and Thumb Bank and Trust. Our premier sponsors are Consumers Energy, Covenant Healthcare, Cumulus Media, Dow, Financial Edge Credit Union, Great Lakes Federal Credit Union, Harbor Light Photography, Spence Brothers, TCF Bank, and Wildfire Credit Union. Our community partners, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, Saginaw Valley State University, and our visionary leaders. These would be AT&T, Bay City Bridge Partners, Mid-Michigan Health. And our newest sponsorship level, which are mission members, Edward Jones, with 7 offices and growing here in the Bay Area, Encompass Therapy Center, Ideal Party Store, and Northway Plum Agency. Now I'd like to recognize our event sponsors, and they'll be scrolling on the screen. Oh, I guess they're just showing up all at once. AMB Plumbing and Heating, Bangor Township Schools, Bay Area Public Schools, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Consumers Energy, Delta College, Essexville Hampton Public Schools, Ferris State University, Great Lakes Bay Health Centers, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, Independent Bank, MDL Investments, Michigan Sugar Company, Mode's Tavern, My Community Dental Centers, SC Johnson & Son, TCF Bank, Thumb Bank and Trust, Universal Roofing, Wade Trim, and Winelander Fitzhugh. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Todd Clements, Senior Vice President, Business Lender, First State Bank, and Chair-elect and Vice Chair of Public Affairs for the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. Give it to you, Todd.
Thank you, Jeff. Just a few housekeeping items before we start our presentations. Each speaker will be allowed 15 minutes for general comments. As Jeff mentioned, today's presentations have been pre-recorded. Jim Barsha, County Executive, will be our first presenter, followed by Dana Muscat, City Manager. A live Q&A with the presenters, facilitated by Madison Jarman, Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy, will take place after the presentations are completed. If there's a common theme here, please use your Q&A icon to submit questions. Jim Barsha was born in Bay City and is a lifelong resident of Bay County. He attended Bay City Central High School and then graduated from Saginaw Valley State University in 1974 with a degree in public administration. He has served 3 terms as state rep for Bay County, 5 terms in the Michigan Senate, 5 terms in the United States Congress for the 5th Congressional District, and in November 2020 was reelected for a 2nd term as Bay County Executive. Jim participates in numerous civic organizations throughout the community, He was elected to the County Executive of America's Board of Directors in 2017 and was appointed to their National Task Force on Opioid Abuse. Mr. Barr has an ambitious agenda to help advance our region economically and to improve government services to Bay County residents. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you all for the opportunity to address the membership of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce to update the community on the state of the county. I would like to start by thanking our local businesses for staying strong and doing their part during the COVID-19 pandemic. This year has been difficult for everyone, but especially for companies that rely on in-person operations. Today, much of what I will be covering relates to the pandemic in some form, as it played a large part in how the county operated over the past year. First, I'd like to talk about our partnership with Bay Area Chamber of Commerce and Bay Future to develop reopenbaycounty.com. This website was a vital tool for community businesses to reopen safely in 2020 when the state of Michigan mandates allowed. We will continue to do whatever we can to provide support to area establishments. As you know, COVID-19 has deeply impacted Bay County in many ways. In our county alone, we've had nearly 7,000 confirmed cases and 250 deaths. Vulnerable populations have been hit the hardest, especially the elderly, which make up a large percentage of our population. Many of our schools completed instruction remotely over the past year, forcing burdens on students, parents, and teachers alike. Furthermore, conflicting messages from national and state leaders added to the uncertainty during this unprecedented time. The Bay County Health Department, under the leadership of Joel Strauss, has persevered through the pandemic. Since the beginning, the department has worked nonstop with all sectors of the economy to bring personal protective equipment and other needed resources to entities in the county. We've also been working closely with McLaren Bay Region and other providers on a daily basis to bring testing, care, and expertise to our residents. And we are doing everything we can to keep schools safe and making sure teachers have the resources they need to remain open. The most important milestone to reach is the 70% vaccination target, which we are aiming to achieve by July 4th. It will be the largest public health initiative in Bay County history. In a normal year, we inoculate approximately 5,000 residents. That number was achieved in January alone. To tackle this challenge, we are working with Delta College to create a major regional vaccination site, as well as coordinating with the Department on Aging, Bay Area Behavioral Health, and Region 7 to make sure all seniors are provided doses, despite the supply shortages. To date, all first responders have received shots, and it is our goal to have fully immunized school staff by the beginning of March. As soon as supplies are sufficient, we will again work with the Chamber and area businesses to further roll out the vaccine. As mentioned previously, shortage of supply has been an ongoing issue. Uncertain coordination of resources from national to state to local governments, coupled with technological difficulties, has made distribution an uphill climb. Even with these challenges, I have received several compliments on how smooth these vaccine clinics have been running and how professional the staff has been. I urge everyone to be patient with the health department. Despite all of the obstacles, they are doing their very best to bring the vaccine to everyone who wants it. Now I would like to highlight some positives within the health department that aren't related to vaccine efforts. Most notably, their ability to continue to provide essential services to residents when most other health departments in the state of Michigan couldn't. This includes some new services implemented in 2020. In May, under the auspices of the health department, the My Community Dental Center on Center Avenue had its ribbon cutting. The dental center provides a life-changing service to those who would not otherwise have access to dental care at no cost to Bay County taxpayers. Then in October, we began to execute the innovative septic system mapping and grant program. The aim of this project is to improve water quality and public health in the Colquhoun River watershed. These are just two examples of the health department's continuing efforts to better our community during an already difficult year. Last year, we predicted that the rising waters from the Great Lakes and Saginaw Bay were showing a high likelihood of flooding for our residents. We partnered with Glen Rowley of Bangor Township and several other townships, as well as state and federal authorities, to prepare for the worst. Although we were ready for an anticipated 500-year flood with plans for evacuations and protections of property, we dodged a bullet when the situation did not pan out to be as devastating as predicted. We got lucky we didn't see the dreaded 50-mile-per-hour northeaster, which could have caused a swell of 2 to 3 feet of water and inundated the county. Then, when the dams collapsed in Gladwin and Midland counties, we were once again lucky that the Shiawassee Game Refuge absorbed most of the 2 trillion gallons of water. While our neighboring counties suffered substantially, Bay County's rivers only experienced 1 to 2 inches of rise from that event. If not for that 10,000-acre wetland, we would have seen the same kind of devastation. And after the events of the past year, I like to count all of our blessings, and this was definitely one of them. Another project I would like to share with you today is Bay County's creation of a countywide brownfield redevelopment authority. This is an economic tool to help improve redevelopment of those long abandoned, obsolete buildings or former gas station sites where environmental contamination may be suspected. Site developers are often hesitant to reinvest at these locations. These authorities are eligible for grants and loans from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy to support revitalization of these undesirable properties. The funds provided reimbursement to developers for environmental assessment, cleanup costs, and new development. This important work also reduces environmental threats and blight in the community, creates employment opportunities, and improves the value of surrounding properties. 10 of our local municipalities have opted into Bay County's Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. This is a win-win undertaking that improves quality of life for everyone. The update at Center Ridge Arms is coming to fruition. We have approval for renovations this year, and construction will be beginning on March 1st. This is great news, and I look forward to this partnership with MHT and the future of those who reside in the 100-unit complex. It is good to share all of this positive news, but I also want to recognize precautions taken by Bay County to remain fiscally responsible, especially during a year like we haven't seen in a century. When the coronavirus came to Michigan, we quickly recognized the need to make changes and prioritize spending, knowing that life was going to be completely different for the foreseeable future. Our finance department estimated a large loss in revenue, which could have led to the need to lay off employees, causing them to lose their health insurance during a public health crisis. To avoid this outcome, we participated in the WorkShare program authored through the state of Michigan for 6 weeks. The program allowed businesses to furlough employees who could then apply for unemployment for their hours of lost work. The program was 100% federally funded, so the county was not charged for any unemployment benefits paid to staff who participated in the furlough. It was a challenging 6 weeks with short staffing, to say the least, but allowed the county to save approximately $80,000 per week in wages. Finance also applied for grants related to the COVID-19 pandemic to recoup some of the unplanned costs of maintaining a clean workplace and meeting personal protection equipment requirements. In 2020, the county received approximately $2.36 million from these grants. Many of these dollars are reimbursements of additional expenditures incurred, and nearly $1 million was CARES Act funding that replaced this year's state revenue sharing cuts. It is important to remain accessible to the community that pays taxes for our services. The efforts of the finance and personnel departments really made a difference in our ability to maintain a balanced budget and stay open to the public during this unpredictable year. Moving forward, Bay County will be doing everything in our power to protect our citizens and contain the pandemic. It seems as though an end is in sight, and I believe if we all work together and remain steadfast in our efforts to keep public health a priority, life will begin to normalize again. The health department is doing its part to support the medical side of this effort, and I am working hard, as is Bay Future, the Chamber, and many other organizations within the community to provide economic support to our businesses. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay optimistic that we will overcome this hurdle and emerge even stronger for our experiences.
Thanks, Jim, for an informative presentation. A reminder once again to please use the Q&A icon to submit questions to our presenters. Our next speaker is Dana Muscat, City Manager for the City of Bay City since 2017. Dana has worked in local government for over 30 years. She began her career in Bay City as City Clerk in 2000, and in 2004 was promoted to Deputy City Manager. Dana worked for Saginaw Charter Township as Deputy City Clerk and attended Michigan State University. Dana earned the prestigious Certified Michigan Municipal Clerk status in 2014. She served as president for the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks and was later named the 2015 Clerk of the Year by the same organization. She is also past president of the Bay County Clerks. With a focus on continued education and leadership development, Dana became a graduate of Great Lakes Bay Regional Leadership Institute and Leadership Saginaw County. Attending Saginaw Valley State University, Dana became a certified public manager, as well as a graduate of the Henry Marsh Institute for Public Policy. She serves as a board member for the following: Michigan Municipal Executives, Michigan Municipal Executive Experience Committee, Bay Future, Bay County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bay City Public Safety and Fire and Pension Retirement System, and Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority Planning Committee. She is a member of the Bay City Noon Optimist Club and volunteers for many. Dana has been married for 27 years to Chris, and they have two sons, Cody, 25, and Connor, 22. Dana.
Good afternoon. I'd like to express my appreciation to the Chamber's Board of Directors and Ryan Tarrant, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. It is an honor to be with you today for my 2021 State of the City Address. I would like to take a moment to recognize our Mayor and City Commissioners. It is with their support, hard work, and dedication to serve that this community continues to grow and prosper. This is my fourth State of the City, and while each one has been special, this one, during an extraordinary year, is significant while we are in the midst of a global pandemic, social and civil unrest, economic instability, and a recent highly charged election season. I reflect on my 32 years of serving the public, and I truly believe I am blessed to be in the greatest profession. Myself and our employees have such an impact in our community, whether it be picking up the weekly trash, keeping your lights on, helping senior citizens who want their sidewalks replaced, assisting victims following a car accident, or providing ethical elections. Our days are never the same. Yet this past year, we proved that we are flexible and continue to provide the services that residents expect and deserve. Last March, the state went into lockdown, entering uncharted territory for most, if not all people. The COVID-19 pandemic was sweeping across the country, altering the way municipalities, large and small, operate. City offices were closed to the public, but the city itself did not close as essential services remained open and operational. Many city employees shifted to remote work overnight thanks to our IT staff. Our brand new HR director, Ed Bromberg, of just 6 weeks, was thrown into creating a response plan, implementing and updating the many changes that came daily from the state and the CDC. His role quickly shifted to protecting our employees and guarding our workforce with PPEs. The community was asked to do business with the city via phone, email, or the website. The normalcy of daily life came to an abrupt halt and left us to do what we do best: lead. Our Public Safety Department, DPW, and wastewater staff continue to work in person every single day, which shows they are truly public servants. I witnessed firsthand a number of residents and businesses in our community donating homemade masks, PPEs, food, cleaning supplies, purchasing takeout meals to support our bars and restaurants, or simply making grocery drops on porches or volunteering at food giveaways throughout the city. We are amazing. So let's take a few moments today to talk together about how our city has never been greater, and the greatness of our city has never been more evident when we are together, and how together we can do more in the days and months to come. Let's start with our neighborhoods. Through new challenges, but also new opportunities, we need to make sure our people's place in our city is secure. Our city is about architectural and public spaces. The movement that we want to make is about neighborhoods and people. Neighborhoods that are accessible, safe, inclusive, clean, and affordable. An economy that extends opportunity to everyone. A city that preserves its history, character, and sense of community. Even though COVID didn't allow us to have our community cleanup, we are still able to move forward with our day-to-day blight enforcement efforts. Our code enforcement officers strive to provide our citizens with the highest quality of service and to uphold and enforce codes and standards to protect health, safety, and welfare. 2020 proved to be a busy year with 2,554 new cases opened, including 181 notice of violation tickets issued and 77 cases being sent to court. It is important to note that our code enforcement officers are determined to deter blight within the city, but doing so with sensitivity and compassion. I cannot express enough that when you are in our neighborhoods, if you see something, say something. We want to hear from you on blight so it can be addressed. We continue to fight the blight issue to stabilize our neighborhoods and demolish blighted structures. This past year, we secured funding to demolish a total of 18 blighted or dangerous homes. Even with COVID, building permits were strong with a construction value for 2020 over $21 million. Now that's a dollar figure to be proud of. Something of interest, more homes sold in Bay City during the pandemic than the last 5 years. 571 homes sold this past year, with 39 of them converting from rentals to owner-occupied. Bay City homes saw an increase in their value of 10%. Our Community Development Department also administered $754,000 in CARES Act money and distributed $454,000 to 222 residents to assist with their mortgage, rent, and utility payments, along with $300,000 to 38 businesses for operating costs. Bay Future assisted with application intake, advertising, and ratings for the businesses. Our Public Safety Department is committed to excellence to provide the best possible public safety services to citizens of Bay City and all the people visiting our community. We have first to report about our frontline public safety officers and firefighters. We hired 10 new public safety officers, with one of them being a result of a partnership with Bridge the Gap. Bridge the Gap is an organization that builds positive relationships between law enforcement and members of our community. They graciously sponsored a police recruit at the Delta College Police Academy, and she is now a sworn officer in our city. One of my favorite additions to the department is the K-9 unit. With this being our first ever K-9 unit, Corporal Carnes and K-9 Loki are making their mark around the city. Loki is trained to track suspects or missing people and detects narcotics. In addition, an internal fire academy was started, and we welcomed our first full-time female firefighter. This past year, economic development staff continued to work with Shaheen Development on Uptown Phase 2, a multi-million-dollar investment in our community. Uptown Phase 2 includes condos, townhouses, and eventually mixed-use buildings. To date, approximately $16 million in private investment and $7 million in public infrastructure has been made. In conjunction with Bay Future, our economic development staff are pushing forward with Wilkinson Minerals, a company that extracts brine to create salt products. We are looking forward to a complete and fully functional facility by mid-2022, with the addition of 60 to 70 permanent living wage jobs. We would like to acknowledge a few businesses that braved their openings during COVID and were strongly supported by our community. We saw Mode's Tavern and Midland Street Books open on the west side, and Barney's Bakehouse Bakery and Lulu Bee's Consignment Shop on the east side. Another new addition this year was Feet on the Street. Overnight, our city saw the closure of streets in response to the shutdown of bars and restaurants. Decks were built, tents went up, tables were placed, lights and heaters were installed, planters planted, musicians and DJs positioned, people enjoying the outdoors, and most importantly, we were supporting our community. The response to this was overwhelming, and we are already working on a return to the outdoor districts for 2021. With elections being on the forefront, our clerk's office saw an increase in absentee ballots for the presidential election. To put it into perspective, 8,760 absentee ballots were voted this election, compared to 3,226 in 2016. That's a 63% increase. Kudos to our staff for not only dealing with the number of ballots, but a shortage of workers, equipping the precincts with proper protective barriers, delivering ballots to vehicles and COVID patients, and answering the countless inquiries on how the votes were counted. With limited funds, our Department of Public Works were able to replace approximately 40,000 square feet of sidewalks. We completed milling, asphalt overlay, water main, and sewer work on South Trumbull Street adjacent to McLaren Bay Region, making the road smoother for ambulances as they enter the hospital. With collaboration with the Bay City Public Schools, we installed a crosswalk at Central High School for the safety of the students. Even though the Vets Park boat launch is still closed due to high water, we have a lot going on our riverfront for outdoor activities. Play City opened late summer due to the dedicated group of volunteers who are committed to bringing a destination playground with universally accessible components. Group, spearheaded by Patrick O'Shea, has their sights set on opening pickleball courts at Carroll Park, as they did a grassroots fundraiser, which consisted of 73 residents, 12 businesses, 6 foundations, and the city and the county contributing a total of $30,000. This spring, you will see 3 other outdoor activities opening: a fitness park at Maplewood Park, disc golf that starts in Defoe Park and ends at Bigelow Park, and rugby between the Boys and Girls Club and the Bigelow Park Pavilion. Progress continues on the Riverbend West project. Most of you know this area by the name of the Dwan property. The Riverbend West project represents an involved multi-year process to rediscover the last remaining section of undeveloped shoreline on the Saginaw River. Development of the site will be an extensive process to allow for its final opening to the public as a new rustic natural area. This property conforms to Bay City's riverfront visioning, which will create public riverfront green space. This project is being led by the Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy. The Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy is a wonderful partner with the city, helping us on our rail trails, parks, blighted areas, and our airport. This past year, we, along with Bay City Bridge Partners, worked hard on needed legislation to complete the transaction to move the bridge work forward. We were overwhelmed and thankful for the bipartisan leadership that Senators Horn, Moss, and Schmidt provided by introducing and guiding Senate bills through the legislature to move our unique partnership with Bay City Bridge Partners by leasing the Liberty and Independence bridges. Before now, no such laws existed in Michigan, allowing municipalities to engage with private investment companies to improve aging infrastructure and to authorize tolling. Despite COVID, a group of us consisting of myself, Kevin Bischel from Bay City Bridge Partners, Ryan Tarrant from the Chamber of Commerce, Jonathan Bird, and Brent Pilarski from Luna Local 1098 testified together via Zoom in support of such bills. Letters of support came from American Council of Engineering, Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, Bay Future, Consumers Energy, Great Lakes Regional Alliance, IBEW Local 692 and 948, Luna Local 1098, McLaren Bay Region, Michigan Association of Counties, MDOT, Michigan Infrastructure and Transportation Association, MML, Michigan Sugar Company, Operating Engineers Local 324, Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, Saginaw Valley State University, Tri-County Building Trades, and UA Local 85. I share this list with you because it's yet again an example of how we strengthen and enhance our city, county, and region when we work together. We had 3 departments stand out this year, earning awards for their outstanding service. First, the electric department earned the American Public Power Association's Diamond designation for being a reliable public power provider, which is based on reliability, safety, workforce, development, and system improvement. Second, our finance department received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association for comprehensive annual financial statements that evidence the spirit of transparency. And third, the Department of Public Safety earned a prestigious award through the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Committee. This accreditation is a stamp of approval that shows that our policies and procedures are met or exceed standards. The dedication, training, and professionalism of our staff shows that our employees have a vested interest in our community. I congratulate Directors Anderson, Martini, and Cicchini and their staff for their leadership and commitment to our city. In closing, as we gradually take steps to reopen, we recognize that the full recovery will take several years. But when we work together, we put ourselves in the best position to manage the virus and rebound. It's time to take a step back, reflect on our strength and resiliency, and recognize the amazing work that is being done by so many in our community in these historic times. It certainly helped me to put things into perspective, knowing that the state of our city is strong, resilient, and sustainable, and the best is yet to come. We are Bay City Strong.
Thank you, Dana, for your comments today. I would now like to introduce Madison Jarman, Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy, to serve as moderator for today's questions. Take it away, Madison.
Thanks, Todd. And I just want to thank Jim again for giving that wonderful community update. Please make sure you're putting all your questions in our Q&A box below so we can make sure to get to all of the great questions you have for Jim and Dana. We'll start off with Dana. When can we expect to see the feet in the streets back in 2021?
That's a great question, Madison. So our plan is to have them open by May 1st. That's the dates that we have scheduled for that. But we have been looking at maybe an alternate date of starting earlier, since the occupancy is still down to 25%, and we need to support our bars and our restaurants. So it is coming back. Like I said, it is scheduled for May 1st, but we are looking at possibility an alternate date of starting earlier, just to help those bars and restaurants in our city.
It was a great initiative this year. I've experienced it personally and I loved it. So thank you for doing that.
Wow.
Next, we have Jim. Can you talk a little bit more about economic development within the county during the time of COVID?
Yes, thank you, Ryan, Todd, and Madison. Thank you for that great question, Madison. Yes, we certainly are going to continue to support Bay Future and the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce as strongly as we can, and hopefully redouble some of that support in the coming year, because nothing, as Dana has mentioned, has impacted our community, the city and the township, across Bay County, like the COVID-19 pandemic. People who are entrepreneurs, who own small businesses, have struggled, as Dana mentioned in her remarks. And one of the things that I'm encouraged about is what the legislature is also doing to help those small businesses sustain themselves and emerge even stronger after this pandemic is conquered. We don't know how long that will take. But one of the things I'd like to mention, one of the bills is a bill that was introduced by our own state representative, Timmy Beeson, which House Bill 4047, which will appropriate $536 million to provide reimbursement to businesses, small businesses especially, for that would cover entertainment venues, exercise facilities, food service establishments, recreation facilities, and places of public amusement. But it would help pay property taxes, unemployment premiums that are going to be increased as a result of the fraud during the pandemic, as well as the very high number of residents of Michigan that drew and qualified for their unemployment. So we will continue to support the city and their efforts on redeveloping Uptown, all of the wonderful, exciting development on the riverfront in downtown Bay City, and also look forward to supporting two outstanding organizations, your chamber and also Bay Future, in their efforts to recruit and retain as many employers as we can in Bay County. Nothing's more important than that.
Thank you so much. I have one more for you, Jim. Are there any plans for improvements of animal shelter this year?
You know, I wasn't going to mention the animal shelter because I have the last 4 years, but they're still up in the 97, 98% adopt rate. And that's quite a turnaround from just a few years ago when we had over a 90% kill rate of the dogs and cats entering the shelter. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank the dedicated staff, Craig Gillette and Joe and all of the great staff, our animal control officers and staff at the shelter, but especially our large number of volunteers that come into our dog walking and help clean the shelter and donate supplies. And so it's going very well, and we're very proud to be a no-kill shelter here in Michigan, in Bay County.
Awesome, thanks. Just as a reminder to all of our attendees, make sure you're putting your questions in our Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We can make sure that we answer all great questions. Next is for Dana. What is your plan for the Veterans Park boat launch? Do you have a time frame? It's in distress right now. Just wondering if there is any plans this year. Is it going to be open this year?
Well, unfortunately, I don't see it being opening this year. You know, it's stressful for us too, because that's just a main spot for everybody to access the riverfront and to enjoy, you know, our activities that we have. We do have staff that is attending a lot of meetings with gym staff, with the emergency management team at the county, and they're looking at grants and looking at ways to fix that problem. We understand that the water levels aren't going down anytime soon, which jeopardizes that area. Unfortunately, what has happened too with those high waters, it has done some damage to the boat launch. So the water has gotten underneath the asphalt there and done some damage. So once that does go back down, we do have some fixing to do of that area. You know, we want it to be open just as much as everybody else. And we look forward to the days when that water goes down so we can enjoy that boat launch once again.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Dana. Next is for Jim. How many people were served at the dental clinic this year or in 2020?
Well, thank you, Madison. That's a great question. You know, we had a soft grand opening last September, and we began seeing clients. And I know the first day that it was open, there were 188 appointments made. And those people have been getting quality dental care for a very reduced cost to help keep their oral health. And we know that if people have abscessed teeth or infections from poor dental issue or, you know, painful dental issues, that they can exacerbate into endocarditis and a myriad of other health complications. So with helping our population having proper dental health and seeing a dentist every 6 months or so for their hygiene and dental work, that we will have a healthier community. And we, as I mentioned, I think last year, I think McLaren Bay saw 2,100 visits for people with dental pain or dental issues at the emergency room. And so to get back to your question, Madison, we've had in 2020, we had over 1,000 visits. And then since January, about 1,100, I believe, between September and end of December and last year. And then about 253 dental appointments so far have been fulfilled in January. So those are the latest numbers.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, very
And one
well.
more for you, Jim. Yeah, we have a question about COVID vaccines. Is the county working with the governor's office to bring more doses to Bay County?
Yes, I've been in touch with Governor Whitmer's office because the only thing holding us back from doing more vaccinating in Bay County is our supply. Anyone who may have been to one of our clinics, it usually leaves with a very positive experience in memory. There's no backups, no 2-hour waiting like we see at some sites. Appointments are scheduled every 15 minutes and we can process 4 or 5 or 6 people simultaneously. So we vaccinated 5,000 people in the month of January alone at the Bay County Health Department and the sites at the community center and out at the one out at Delta, the Delta Clinic. And that is, in comparison, the Bay County Health Department did 5,000 vaccinations last year in its entirety. So this is the greatest health challenge that in Bay County's history, trying to vaccinate and get to 70% by July 4th, which is our target. To try to accomplish that, we have to have access to more vaccine. We have some 22,000 people who have registered and are awaiting their appointments. And we'd like to get that to that target of 70,000 vaccinated by early July. But in order to do that, we've got to have more vaccine. And I believe that the new administration is working on that, as well as we're pressing the governor to make sure we get the amount of vaccine that we need to thoroughly vaccinate, the numbers of people that we need to do if we're going to reduce this vaccine locally and regionally.
Great, Jim. Thank you for advocating for our community and getting those COVID vaccines. Dana, I have another one for you. Is there any plans for the tennis court area at Park?
Oh, great question. We actually do have plans for the tennis courts there. We plan to take the tennis courts out, they're unsafe at the moment they've been in disarray for a long time. And so what we plan on doing is redoing the surface of those tennis courts and making that into a food court venue. So we have hookups down there for, food trucks to park and, they can enjoy the events that are down there in the summer. With the addition of Play City down there, we thought it was a good spot to put the food trucks. There's going to be some games that will be out there, some big games. It's the old time games that we used to have when we were younger, and they'll be out there in the lawn. So it's just going to be a spot for families to go and enjoy, the good weather and the events that we have this summer down in our park. But yes, we have plans coming for the summer.
That sounds awesome. Great
Yes.
update. Thank you, Dana.
You're
Next,
welcome.
for Jim. With the closing of senior meal sites, how has this affected meal delivery in Bay County?
Not too much. I know the rural areas were impacted this morning. So all of our folks who get home delivered meals also have 5 days of emergency food supplies left in the home. So that on those days when it's dangerous for our largely volunteer drivers, they're paid a minimum amount of wage to do that, to go out into the blustery, wintry days and early mornings and to get those meals out to people, as well as the meal sites. The meal sites will still be delivering curbside. And as far as the home delivered meals, we do have supplies in an emergency when we have weather conditions that warrant not putting our drivers at risk. So.
What a great program. Thank you. And here's our final question today. We'll start with Dana. It's for both of you. What can the community do to help with economic recovery after COVID?
So I think I said it during my speech. I think the most important thing is to support our businesses. I mean, we saw some, devastation happen this past year, when the businesses had to either, close or they were just at a small capacity. I think the best thing to do is just rally around our businesses here in Bay City and in Bay County. We saw some Facebook pages go up from local businesses and really promoting each other. It wasn't a competition, I feel like, in Bay County, who has the best food or you need to eat here. It was more of they were praising each other and trying to support on both sides of the river. So I think the best thing that we need to do is support our businesses, shop local, and just go forward with being out in our community and taking care of ourselves.
And thank you, Madison. I'll just add to Dana's comments and say that we applaud what the city's done in terms of neighborhood enterprise zones and revitalizing some of our older housing stock. And I want to say that Shauna Walraven, our Bay County Treasurer, shares the and pretty much leads, along with some great members from the city and the county, the Bay County Land Bank. And we'd like to see more of the neighborhood revitalization efforts occurring across the county. City's been doing a great job with that and set a good, I think, model for us and secured some federal funding, and that's made a real difference. Recently, the county partnered with the city of Auburn to remove a blighted property out there that was near the city hall in the city. And we need to see more cooperation between nonprofits or private entrepreneurs like Jennifer Acosta, who also is working on a project on Center Avenue that had a contamination issue and working through that to replace a contaminated site with some beautiful new housing opportunities and business or residential tax for the city and the county. So we'd like to see that. Given the constraints that we have battling the COVID until we get a real handle on that, I think that we'll continue to be laser focused on that COVID and how it's impacted our quality of life, as well as our economy locally and statewide and nationally as well. So that's something that we'd like to do, and we look forward to Shauna Walraven and the great members of the Bay County Land Bank, helping replicate what the city has done so successfully on some properties in the city. So.
Thank you both for answering all your questions. You had great presentations. It was a great community update. I learned something every time I listened to the both of you. Now pass it back to Ryan Tarrant, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Madison. And thank you to Jim and Dana and all of today's sponsors. And I'd also like to thank Jeff and Todd, my bosses, for taking part in today's program. It's always great to hear about all the positive action in our community, especially in a year like we've had, with hundreds of millions of dollars in economic investment being announced over the past several years, but also hearing about how our community comes together in a time of crisis. So, thank you to all of you who are out there and attending. We saw it, it used to be Taco Tuesday, now it's Takeout Tuesday. We support all of our restaurants and our businesses by doing that. And the Chamber of Commerce remains committed to making this a destination, not just for travelers, but for everyone living here, people looking to relocate. We're an affordable area. Some of the highlights over the past year, obviously taking part in the street closures and being involved in those conversations and the outdoor dining, the social district, the collaborative efforts we've had with other nonprofits, government, and business. The Buy BC program that the Chamber and Bay Future used to sell nearly $250,000 on behalf of businesses, did $250,000 in sales. And then, maybe most importantly, effective advocacy that helps shape public policy to give our community the tools to move forward. With that, just a couple of quick announcements that tie into some of the conversation today. The Minority Business Partnership will be hosting its second webinar tomorrow at 2 p.m. With Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Works, talking about apprenticeships for both businesses and individuals. And if you want to hear more about Bay City Bridges, which Dana alluded to in her presentation, our Eye Opener Breakfast on March 17th will feature Bay City Bridge Partners to talk about what's happening with the bridges and what that looks like going forward. With that, thank you everyone for your participation today. Have a great day and drive safe.